guys, I'm Kurt. This is Okadamo, and today we're deviating from our usual comp block lark and going into something that every red-blooded American needs, an M16A4. And, like a proper American, we blew all of our budget on the exquisite Knights rail and ran out of money for other important parts, such as our carry handle. So, like every proper American, we went to Amazon.com, found the cheapest Chinese carry handle we could, and threw that on. So, while our foregrip laser aiming module M203 that we don't have will be able to retain 0, our irons will not. I mean, look at that wiggle. Make sure you guys subscribe, leave me a comment about how that's a proper decision to make, and let's get into it. Now that everybody knows the piece de resistance on this rifle, we can get onto the much less important topics. As a matter of fact, when we were shooting this, I actually managed to get 2 A4s out. One of my friends managed to bring a PSA A4, which I thought was a great point of comparison for this rifle, as this is more of a parts bin put together. All the parts on this are of very good quality. They're basically BCM or higher components, so they're good quality parts. But honestly, to tell the truth, when we were shooting these rifles, nobody could really tell a difference in overall shootability. Both of the rifles were perfectly well gassed. Their ejection patterns were honestly fairly similar amongst the two of them. Obviously, the PSA rifle is hitting targets at a farther distance since it didn't have the wiggle problem. This rifle had perhaps a bit of a weight advantage on it, helping keep the recoil down with the addition of the Knights rail, but realistically, it's fairly minor. The rail isn't really all that heavy. Actually, I take it back. The PSA rifle is the superior rifle. For whatever reason, the mainspring in this rifle is one of those that sproings. I'm not sure exactly what the technical term for springy springs is, but every time you shoot, the spring makes a very distracting, annoying noise in your right ear. Granted, the springy spring is a very minor fix. It's easy enough to go buy a new one. But for whatever reason, it's just one of those things that really grinds my gears when you talk about AR. Speaking of rails, every time I handle one of the PSA classic rails that they put on their A2s, A4s, or even something like the 635, I am truly amazed at how quality they are. I've handled them on a variety of rifles from different people, and every single time there is 0 give in the rail. They do not twist, they do not bend, they do not turn. They stay perfectly in line where they're supposed to be. And honestly, I must admit, having played with a lot of these clone rifles from a lot of companies like Smith & Wesson or Springfield, or even some of their more modern offerings that come with that like particular handguard type, they really just don't do it nearly as good as PSA does. I always find that there's significant wiggle and jiggle in it, and they don't retain, not that they're really trying to retain 0, but they wouldn't even be close, comparatively speaking. Even if today I went out and bought a new Smith & Wesson rifle, I would 100% pick up a spare handguard from PSA just because I think they're far superior. That being said, the Knights rail on here is obviously fantastic. This is the second or third set that I've played with in the past while here, and every single time these things are bond-proof. There is no flex, there is no wiggle or jiggle of them at the slightest, and honestly, you could beat a man with this thing. Like I said before, both these rifles shot about the same, and that's a fantastic thing. The rifle length gas system in these is extremely soft, especially when compared to something like a 10.3 or 10.5. That's a lot more punchy. That being said, the size and weight of it also does make it trickier for certain folks. We had quite a variety of people out shooting the other day, and some of the shorter folks did struggle a little bit with the lever arm caused by this massive 20-inch barrel and, fairly heavy handguard, all things considered. It made it difficult for them to shoot for extended periods of time, especially when compared to something that is, obviously shorter, but honestly more than anything, has an adjustable stock. The length does also make it a little bit more tricky on something like a VTAC barricade, but honestly, compared to something like an AK that has like that rear front sight post right here, that likes to get caught on absolutely everything, having the front sight post a little bit farther back makes getting into those positions a lot easier than honestly you would expect. It's the coming out can get a little bit tricky at times, I noticed. The M16 is a rifle known around the world, sometimes for better or for worse. Many love how it performs in the modern times, being fairly light and easy to carry with cheap and very light ammo as well. But just as many people really hate this rifle for how it performed in the past, specifically during Vietnam. What we have here is the A4 variant. So essentially the final variant of the full-length M16 platform. And while a significant upgrade over previous versions, was it truly better? Because The one thing that's definitely noticeable is over the past 30-40 years, she put some weight on, that's for sure. The M16 was initially picked up by the Air Force, as well as Special Army units in the 1960s. Claims were presented that the .22 caliber bullet used by them would much more often destabilize inside of a target, causing more damage, whereas .30 caliber bullets that were significantly larger would more oftentimes just cleanly pass through a target, just leaving a hole. The reduced weight of the round also meant that automatic gunfire was significantly easier, as well as allowing the user to carry much more ammunition, making sustained gunfights quite a bit more feasible than they were with the M14s. Thus began the initial switch from the very short-lived M14 onto what we have now. And while many claim that these were initially god-awful and terrible, and their unreliability got many people killed during Vietnam, which they're not wrong with, modern rifles that are made from quality manufacturers can both be remarkably reliable and remarkably cheap for the end user. The M16A4 was the standard issue rifle for the Marines during Operation Iraqi Freedom, as well as parts of the Afghanistan War. And it is still occasionally seen today in conjunction with many of the more modern rifles that are being issued nowadays. With, obviously, as time goes on, less and less of these being issued and or seen out in combat. Many of these nowadays obviously going to Ukraine, getting rid of that old stock they had probably. The rifle has been officially replaced by the Marines as of 2017 with the H&K M27 infantry automatic rifle. And while I'm sure the M27 is a fantastic rifle, it's really hard to beat the smoothness and just easeability of shooting one of these. With that being said though, this does only come in at 39.5 inches, and while we all might hate to admit it, this technically is a surplus rifle at this point. So while being fairly large, it is still significantly shorter than most of the surplus that I enjoy shooting and enjoy covering on the channel. Something like the AG-42 Youngman dwarfs this by quite a significant margin, honestly. Speaking of sizing and metrics, speaking of metric actually, the A4 has a hidden make fun of Europeans feature, if you didn't know. This rifle weighs exactly 4 kilos, so you could measure in M16A4s for weight if you really wanted to mess with people. But that math can get a little bit tricky, and who likes doing math in their head? So they put in an even better feature. This rifle is exactly 1 meter tall. So if you really want to make fun of the Europeans, or, you can just measure in M16A4s. Oh, how far is over there? Oh, it's about 30 M16A4s. Yeah. This obviously gets rid of that terrible math requirement for the weight, and you can still have fun with people and mess with them, while still technically not being wrong, which is obviously the best part. As stated before, the A4 was officially adopted in '97, and its main upgrades that it came over the A3 or A2, depending where you're coming from, were the carry handle that was removable, which had a Picatinny rail underneath, which allowed for the mounting of optics. Realistically speaking, you were getting an ACOG if you were getting one at all, or if you were really fancy, you could obviously throw on a red dot. On top of that, the Knight's Armament quad rail allows for the mounting of all sorts of things, whether it be a laser aiming module, a foregrip, or an M203 if you're really ballin'. This eliminated the need for those amazing looking 203 handguards they had back like in Panama and whatever. Honestly, those are better just for the looks. Like, nobody can deny that. Unfortunately, one of the biggest improvements that was a missed opportunity at this point was the lack of an addition of an adjustable stock. And with the Car 15 at this point being around for 30 plus years, it's not like adjustable stocks weren't a thing, making it more manageable for smaller soldiers to be able to effectively bring this up. On top of that, the barrel length was kept at that solid 20 inches, which, while fantastic for your ballistics, really does make close quarters combat inside of buildings quite a bit tricky. This unfortunately came to bite the Marines in the ass quite hard, considering that during the Iraq War timeframe, there was an excessive amount of close quarter combat in places like Nasiriyah, Ramadi, and especially Fallujah. It actually took the Marines up until 2014 to issue a limited amount of adjustable stocks. Hence, these were specifically given to smaller soldiers that had trouble reaching the trigger when they had body armor on. This was not meant to be a replacement for all units, and they had to be specifically ordered, and additionals could obviously be ordered if needed. But thankfully, shortly following this, in October of 2015, the M16 was replaced by the M4, giving all the modern features that we're obviously all aware of with the shorter barrel, adjustable stock, and anything else that came with at that point. So I'm kind of wondering if that's why they didn't make a broad sweep to everybody having adjustable stocks at that point, because they knew that that change was coming, and they didn't want to buy however many hundred thousands of stocks just to have them just sit in a warehouse for the rest of forever, only a year after, which, fair enough. I could see that choice. That's reasonable. Unfortunately for the Marines, the final downgrade that was made to the A4 was going from the amazing full auto that was finally brought back for the A3 back to the 3-round burst mechanism. I don't know why I'm showing you this, because unfortunately it don't go farther. Obviously this is only semi-auto, which is very disheartening. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed the content. Make sure to leave me a subscribe, leave me a like, subscribe, and leave me a comment on how the best part about these is that these were headshot machines during, I think it was Fallujah, I'm not 100% certain, but these got so many headshots that the Marines were investigated because they were so effective with their ACOGs. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.